in your infrastructure, right? So these are all the requirements which you need to consider, right, while you are establishing the system, your QMS system. Then the next point here is environment for the operation of processes, right? So basically standard is talking about the working environment, right? So when I say working environment is cleanliness, right? Maintaining 5S in the organization, right? The shop floor, the workplace is safe for use, right? So these, this particular points you can ensure. And apart from this, what ITF standard is saying is they have all given a reference ISO 45001 here, right? So the organizations who have implemented ISO 45001, they can link that particular system in order to provide a justification during an audit that they are maintaining the environment for the operation of processes through like by implementing ISO 45001, right? So when I say like how can you audit this particular point, right? Now let us say for example, if you are visiting a heat treatment process, right, or you are visiting, let us say, tire industry, right? So in tire industry, you know, there are a lot of like curing pots, right? And those curing pots are like the particular curing takes place at a temperature more than 150 degrees Celsius, right? So the environment near that curing section, right, becomes so hot that the operator, like when they work near that pot, especially during the summer season, right? So there is a lot of fatigue or stress, right? Mental stress basically, right? So what you can do is, for such processes where the environment, the working condition is important, you can just talk to the particular operator or the supervisor and just check with them whether they are comfortable in working, right? I mean, whether the environmental condition they are like in which they are working, are they comfortable enough, right? So if they say, like many times I get the comments that like even we don't have a fan here, right? We have to keep on standing, right? There is a lot of humidity, there is a lot of temperature, there is a lot of heat, right? So in that context, you can raise an NC under this particular point for environment, right? This is what you can do. Next important point here is monitoring and measuring resources, right? Now, when I say monitoring and measuring resources, okay, here under monitoring and measuring resources, the standard is basically talking about measurement system analysis, which is your MSA, and calibration, right? These are the two important points which are mentioned here in the standard. Now, when I say calibration, right? Calibration here, what standard says is, when you are performing the calibration, you have to ensure the identification and traceability, right, for the gauges, right? Whenever there is any out of specification, right, readings which are reported, right, during the calibration or during the use of the instrument, you need to record those, right, in your calibration records, right? You need to track the revision history, right? Okay, and if any suspected or material is shipped to customer because of the like what I would say, because of the faulty your instrument or the uncalibrated instrument, you need to have a system of notification to the customer in your organization, right? Then in your calibration certificate, right? I mean, based on the calibration certificate, you should have a statement of conformity, right? Because as you all know, I mean, those who are working in calibration department or those who are using the instrument, right? When we do the calibration, like either you do it in-house or you do it from the agency from outside, you get a calibration certificate, right? But in that calibration certificate, they will never tell you whether that instrument is okay or not. They will never give you a statement of conformity. They will only give you the error factor, right? Now, as an organization, whosoever is taking care of this calibration activity, right, has to have a record of conformity, a statement, a documented information, as they have reviewed a calibration certificate and they have ensured that that particular instrument is fit for use, right? And then perform the next activity, which is like NSA, or you can use it on the shop floor, right? So this is very, very important point as far as the calibration activities are concerned, right? Then in calibration also you have two types, right? You can do it in-house and you can do it from the external agency. So now what standard is saying, if you are performing the calibration from the outside agency, it has to be done from an NABL accredited ISO IEC 17025 certified lab, right? This is for an external your agency. And if you are doing it in-house, right, you need to define the scope of your lab, right? The scope of your calibration lab, then competency of the people who are working in the lab, then what are the standards you are going to use, right, for performing the calibration, right? Then what are the customer requirements, right? If there are any customer specific requirements as far as calibration requirement is concerned, right? Have you captured the CSRs or not, and are you performing the calibration activity as per the CSR or not, right? This is what is expected in calibration. The next point is your measurement system analysis, right? So when you are performing MSA, right, you need to have a record of a documented information of what is the acceptance criteria as far as MSA activity is concerned, like what is the analytical method, right? What is the bias acceptance criteria or linearity criteria, or what will be the GRR percentage. So you need to define what is the MSA acceptance criteria, right? Then if you are not following the criteria as per the MSA manual or as defined by the customer, you need to take an customer approval. You need to have a customer approval on the criteria on which you are going to perform an MSA studies, right? So this is what is expected as far as MSA is concerned. And then I now have one question for you. Guys, if you have any doubts on MSA or calibration, right, please raise your hands on the requirement. Yes, Satish sir, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, sir. Actually, I have doubt in calibration.
Yes, sir.
The auditor is asking the calibration report from NABL lab.
Okay.
But some of the cases, NABL lab, in this scope, all the gauges and instruments is not covered.
Okay.
For that, suppose we are using one relation gauge, those are used dimension.
Okay.
And the material is sending to our customer. That part is getting a fitment is also okay. But we have this gauge we have sent to the calibration to outside lab. For that, we get the certificate from lab. It is, but for that, I have checked, it is not involved in the NABL scope. We have get the NC from outside auditor. In this case, what is the countermeasure from our side?
So I have one question here for you. So, is the case is like the particular lab where you send your relation gauge, right, is not NABL certified, or that particular relation gauge calibration is not included in the scope of that particular lab? Question number 2. Question number 3, is there, or there is no agency, right, who can calibrate the relation gauge?
Sir, actually, yes. As per my opinion, the calibration relation gauge, it is not in scope of the NABL scope in all this relation gauge.
Okay, so in that case, what you can do, what IATF says is, if the calibration services, right, could not be calibrated by the labs who are NABL accredited, you can get the calibration services done from the equipment manufacturer or that particular gauge manufacturer.
Yes.
Right, so even that certificate, because like just for example, I'll tell you, there are lots of
sorry? Because the auditor wants the NABL accreditation they report for that. But
Sir, what you can do, there is a clause number 7.1.5.3.2, right? This is for external laboratories, right? If you go through that clause, right, and specifically in that particular clause, go through the second last paragraph or last paragraph. The ITF has mentioned that if there are no laboratories who can provide, right, I mean, who can perform the calibration, right, who cannot perform the calibration, right, you can get that particular gauge calibrated from the manufacturer and you can show the verification report. If that is not the case, you can take an approval from your customer for that.
Yes, okay.
That evidence will also help you during the audit.
Yes. Yeah. For that, as per my understanding, they approve report from customers. Okay, sir. Thank you.
But there is a shall requirement that first, as a preventive measure, you need to identify the laboratories, right? You need to perform the calibration from the laboratories who are ISO IEC 170-025 certified, right? And if it is not possible from the laboratories, right, get it done from the equipment manufacturer or the gauge manufacturer. And if that is also not possible, you can do it in-house. But when you are doing it in-house, you need to define the points which I have addressed, like the competency, the scope of your laboratory, the type of testing you are going to do, right? And if there are any customer-specific requirements.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, there is question from Taj. Please unmute yourself.
Hello. Sir. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Taj, please unmute yourself and ask the question. I could see a raise your hand.
Yes, sir. I asked about MSA. Hello?
Okay. Arvind sir, I can see your hand as well. Please unmute yourself and speak. Hello.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Both have, just a second. Both have unmuted themselves. Okay, Arvind, Arvind sir, please speak.
This is for the entire team. Actually, what Satish is referring, we had a major dispute, you can say, in the recent audit. Auditor has raised the objection on a relationship gauge which was tailor-made for one particular customer. We calibrated it from an external agency which was having an NABL accreditation for measurement, right? So, NC was raised because all of us have not read the fine print and they are not the part of the later debate. Non-conformity was that you have not evaluated your calibration agency effectively and relationship gauge is not falling under the NABL scope. So the certificate which the company gave, the calibration company, was not having an NABL logo. Now, what happened? I looked up at NABL 101 and NABL 127, the documents. There is a definition available for a lab scope of relationship gauge measurement, calibration of a relationship gauge. Unfortunately, there is no lab which we could have traced till now which has a scope of relationship gauge written in the scope. So,
right? So, when I say competency, so you need to define a competency at all levels in the organization. Specifically, when we say for the people who are working on shop floor, right, which is on-job training. So, what standard says is you need to define. You need to provide on-job training to the people who are working on the shop floor, right? Like operator levels or like people who are working down the line. And in that particular on-job training, you also need to include, right? Please note, customer-specific requirement related trainings is a mandatory requirement for the people who are working on shop floor. right? Please note this point. Whosoever is from manufacturing or process engineering or from HR, please make a note of this point that in on-job training, you also need to include training related to customer-specific requirements. So when I say skill upgradation, it is done through on-job training, and if it is knowledge upgradation, it can be done through awareness session or through off-the-job training also, right? Now, this is one of the basic requirements. Now, in standard, they have given the competency for the auditors, right? So when I say auditor, there is an internal auditor, right? There is a second party auditor, right? So when in your organization, if there are internal auditors, right? I'll tell you one by one what are the requirements for an internal auditor. So if you have an internal auditor in your organization, what are the bare minimum competency requirements which the internal auditor should possess? First is he should have an understanding of the risk-based thinking approach which we have discussed yesterday, right? Point number 2, he should also have a knowledge of a customer-specific requirement. This is point number 2. Point number 3, he should have an understanding of applicable ISO 9001 and IATF 16949 standards. This is point number 3. Point number 4, he should have an understanding of all the applicable core tools. Core tools, when I say there are 5 core tools by AIG, MSA, SPC, FMEA, PPAP and APQP, right? And 5th point is understanding on how to conduct the audit, how to plan the audit, how to close the audit, and how to report the audit findings. These are the 5 bare minimum requirements an internal auditor should possess. Then and then only he will be qualified or called as an competent internal auditor, right? This is one. Now, if whenever you are providing a thing, right, you also need to check the effectiveness, and apart from this, what IATF says is that you also need to maintain the competency of your auditors. Now, what I mean by this is, I have seen many organizations, they actually provide training to pool of auditors, right? They could have 30, 40, 50 auditors in their organization. But out of those 30, 40 auditors, every year there could be only 10 to 15 auditors, those who are actually performing the audit. Now this will not be accepted as far as IATF is concerned, because what IATF is saying is that you need to maintain the competency of your auditors, which means that whatever auditors you identify, at least once in a year, they should perform minimum 1 audit in order to maintain their competency level, right? This is the important your requirement as far as internal auditor competency is concerned. Now, the second point here is second party auditor competency. Now, apart from what 5 requirements I have told you, right, one additional requirement for a second party auditor, which is nothing but your external auditor, which goes to supplier place for auditing, right? So those auditors, we call it as a second party auditor. Apart from those 5 requirements which I have told you, one additional requirement here is along with those 5, so there will be total 6, right? So that requirement is that that particular auditor, second party auditor, should have a knowledge of the manufacturing process which he is supposed to audit. Now these could be special processes or these could be normal processes, right? Like, for example, if from your organization, if someone like some auditor from second party auditor is going to audit for a heat treatment process, right? So that particular auditor should have a knowledge of a heat treatment process. Or else, what he can do is, he can take along with him a subject matter expert on heat treatment, and during auditing for the particular process, he can seek help or guidance from an SME, right? But he cannot involve him for an audit, right? So this is what is expected as far as second party auditor competency is concerned, right? If you have any doubts, any queries onto this point, please raise your hand and ask the question as far as competency is concerned. If no, please text me in the message box. I'll continue to the next point. No doubts? Yes, Taj, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sir, in Star Vietnam, we plan to get IATF on May of 2020, and we in last first internal audit, we still don't have internal auditor in company. So by training for IATF Tham Lai, so my trainer he conduct internal audit. So that's can accept, right? You understand my
Look, he can conduct an internal audit, but you need to define the competency, right? The competency, the 5 competency requirement which I have told you, you need to ensure he possesses all those competency requirements. Yes, Arvind sir has something to say. Yes sir, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, what she is asking is, it is like ABCG conducting audit of Star Chakan as a, for my first internal audit, to come and do internal audit and release a report. She is asking, is it acceptable as per IATF norms?
Yes, it is acceptable, but only when he is competent. I mean, if he possesses all those 5 competency requirements, then he can come and conduct.
He is like you only, same as per your qualifications, and that's why I am saying your equivalent to
Yes, yes, sir. Then it is accepted. Look, it is again, you need to define in your system, right? It is basically a cross, like what I would say, the cross audit, right?
Yeah, it's a cross audit.
Yeah, so it is acceptable. Look, I have seen companies, right, like for example Cummins, right, what is the system they have, right? They have the internal system that if anyone, right, from one plant to another plant has to conduct an audit, he should be a lead auditor, right? So that is what is their requirement they have defined, right? So it is not like IIT has not mentioned that he should be a lead auditor or he should possess so and so qualification. They have only mentioned these 5 requirements, right? If an auditor possesses these 5 requirements, he can conduct an internal audit, even he can conduct a cross audit. Only thing is you need to define in your system. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so shall I continue to the next point? Awareness. Yes, Lee, I hope I have answered your question. Sorry, Taj, I hope I have answered your question. Okay, so I'm moving on to next point, which is your awareness. Now, this is again one of the most loved clause by an auditor, because this particular clause you can definitely get an NC anytime, right? Because what is the basic requirement in awareness clause, right? What awareness clause says that when, the first requirement here in awareness is, and in organization, the people should be aware on the organization's quality policy, first. Second, they should be aware on the quality objectives, right? Third, they should know what can go wrong if the QMS requirements are not followed. Basically, what could be the implications of not conforming to the QMS requirements, and what are the benefits of implementing quality management systems. So these are the 4 requirements, right? Everyone in the organization should know as an awareness, right? Point. This is first. Now, as far as ITF is concerned, right, what ITF says is that apart from these 4 major points, an organization should have a process for employee motivation and empowerment, right? So you also need to have a system in your organization wherein you need to define how are you motivating or how are you empowering your employees for creating an environment that promotes innovation, right? Like for example, how are you promoting your employees on like improving in quality or improving the technology, or how you are spreading awareness in the organization, or how, I mean, what are the programs you are carrying out in order to ensure that lots of innovative projects are coming up, right? What are the initiatives, what are the steps an organization is taking to empower, to motivate their people, right? So this is what is expected in clause number 7.3. Now there is question, I could see hand raised by Mangesh sir and Ravi sir. So Mangesh sir, please unmute yourself and answer.
No, sir, by default.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Any doubts in this clause number 7.3? If no, I will move on to next clause 7.4. Okay, so if no question, there are only two possibilities. Either you have understood everything or you have understood nothing. So I'll consider you have understood everything if there are no questions. And prove me wrong. Okay? Yeah, please, can you please text a message in the chat box? I'll move on to next point then. Okay, sir. Thank you. Yeah, next point is communication, which is 7.4 clause. Okay. So this communication is basically an internal and external communication. Now this is again ISO 9001 requirement, right? It is not a 9001 requirement, but as you all know, if we have to implement IT, we have to also implement 9001 requirement. So in communication, basically you can prepare a communication matrix, right? Wherein again, standard is looking for a 4W 1H approach, which is what to communicate, when to communicate, with whom to communicate, who communicates, and how to communicate. Now here, just as an example, if I want to give you, we have seen in clause number 5.2 that the management has to communicate a policy, right? Quality policy. Now here, what to communicate will be a policy. When to communicate, it could be as and when required. Okay. With whom to communicate? All interested parties, employees of the organization. What to communicate, when to communicate, with whom to communicate. How to communicate? Could be through email, it could be through display board, it could be through pocket cards, right? And when to I've missed one W, right? What, when, with whom.
Who to communicate?
Yeah, who to communicate will be all the people, right? Like all your interested parties, or what I would say, your like employees, and like frequency would be like you need to define as and when required. So this is what you can define as your 4W1H matrix in the communication, right? So this is what you need to address as far as communication is concerned. Now we'll move on to next clause, which is 7.5. This is documented information. Now this is again a very generic clause, right? As I believe all of you might be knowing it, but still I'll just go through this, go through the requirement of clause number 7.6. Now this particular clause is related to the documented information. I mean, how you manage the documentation system, right? Now here in the documentation, you basically have, first of all, I'll just give you a background on the generic requirements as far as ISO 9001 is concerned, right? So what ISO 9001 says is when, like, you need to identify, right, a document which are required by the organization and which are required by this international standard. You need to document them, right? While creating and updating the documents, right, you need to have an identification, like for example, title, date or reference number, what could be the format number, do you need that particular document in an electronic form, or you need it in a hard copy, or you need it in soft copy, right? Who will, who will review the document, who will approve the document, who will prepare the document, right? This is as far as creating and updating is concerned. Then what should be the control, right, on the documented information, right? Like for example, how do you ensure the confidentiality, right? How do you ensure that document is adequately protected or there is no loss of integrity as such as far as the documents are concerned? It is available for use, it is legible, right? And what I would say, how it is controlled, right? So that is what is expected as far as control of documented information is concerned. And then we have control of records, right? Now when I say records, right, how you store the record, how you preserve, right, what is the retention period, right, what is the disposal mechanism, how do you handle the external origin documents, right? Basically, like if you know, I mean, like in during my manufacturing career, I have seen in my organization, we have many times got an NC related to external origin document because we don't used to keep a record of all the external origin documents. Like for example, your national, international standards, right? Your management standards, right? Your testing standards, your customer specific requirements. So there could be these external origin documents which you need to maintain and which you need to control, right? How do you ensure there are no unintended alterations which are taking place in the documents, right? So this is what is expected in general as far as 9001 is concerned, right? There is a question from Arvind sir. Yes, sir, please unmute yourself.
See, we have our system in which there are people who have been designated responsible for keeping the external origin standards updated. Now, since I'm a very new journey to the team, but I have actually observed it is very difficult to cope up with the changes which are happening at the customer's end.
Okay.
Secondly, it is since a company like ours has got multiple customers, multiple locations, multiple geographical locations of customers.
Okay.
So what happens, I'll clarify by adding an example. Suppose one just changes which is applicable to a plastic product which is being used by my company.
Okay.
So there are only two ways that I'll come to know. Number one, I should be a subscriber to GIF. Number two, I should be updated by my customer.
Right.
Now, this is practically very, very hard to maintain. Now, in my earlier days, there was an organization called the Book Supply Bureau in South Delhi, to whom we would submit all our standards, and the moment a standard changes, they will give us an update. This standard has changed to next level, and you need to buy it or have an updated copy from a customer, and they would charge for it. Now, my question is this an acceptable practice? One, and have you ever come across any such organization in Pune or around who can help us in this?
So there is one, I think Ajit Law Book is there, and also you can register on ISO website or standard websites, wherein you can register yourself so that they will provide you a timely updation if there are any changes in the standard taking place.
So for ISO, no, that is what my question was. Now I am supplying to Japanese customers, I am supplying to Korean customers, I am supplying to Vietnamese customers. Some law changes in Vietnam, how will I come to know about?
So it is basically a responsibility, I would say, for like of an what I would say, the application engine or the marketing guys, because when you get a requirement, get a CSR from the customer.
That is already defined.
So who keeps a track of all these customer
engineering guys along with the customer care department, they keep a track. But I'm saying it is very, very impractical to have them all the time updated. So can we have any reference to any organization which does this, like Book Supply Bureau in earlier days?
So look, I mean, nowadays what the customers are doing, they are preparing their system, right? I mean, like for example, Tata Motors, right? They have their SRM portal, Supra Relationship Management, right? So in that case, what happens, if there are any changes happening in any of these standards, right, by Tata Motors, right, what they do, they will upload it. And the supplier will come to know that there are changes. Right, so this is again a part of continual improvement, but now as on date, like what you can do is, you can just keep a track on like whatever documents you have, and you can have a review frequency, right, with the customer saying that this is what the current revision levels which we have, right, and every month what you can do, you can circulate that list to a customer and get an input from them, like if there are any changes happening or not, or if there are any changes which is happening. Right? Because customer is the only single point of contact for this.
Okay.
This is what only you can do.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Next point is in this documentation clause only. As far as IATF is concerned, now IATF is asking for the quality manual, right, here. And then another your important point in IIT engineering specification change, right? So we will discuss first the quality manual, right? So in the manual, what is expected, right? So there are basically 4 documents which are expected in a lean quality manual, right, by IATF. First is, in your manual, you need to define a scope, right? And if there are any justification for exclusion, right? Mangesh sir, just give me a moment. I will finish this point and then I will get back to you. Right? Second is interaction with the processes, right? So you need to prepare an interaction matrix, right? Like, for example, as we have discussed yesterday on process approach, okay? Now, when I say interaction matrix, is how your processes are interacting with each other. So we need to have that, right? Then third point is, what are the processes in your organization, right? As we have seen in clause number 4.4, and you need to identify the linkages of these processes with the manual. Like, for example, if you have a competency development process, right? So you can refer that particular process in your manual under clause number 7.2, right? If you have employee motivation or employee empowerment process, right? You can link it with clause number 7.2, 7.3. So basically you need to have a master list of processes, right? And you need to link it with your manual. This is third. Fourth, you need to have an interaction, like maybe you can have a matrix, or you can have a list, or you can have a table on the customer specific requirement versus process. Now, just for example, right, here I call it as, for ease of understanding, I call it as CSR versus process matrix. Now, how it is, now let us say you have one customer. So can you name any one customer? Sir Arvind sir? Hello? Bajaj,
Yes,
okay. So let us say Bajaj is your customer. Now, can you name any 2 customer specific requirements of Bajaj? Any 2 CSR, VCS, okay. Another? One more, sir? Yeah, just name 2 CSRs of Bajaj. One you have mentioned, okay, IPO, and one is VCS. Okay, now, my question here is, what I'm trying to tell you is what IITF is expecting is against the CSR versus processes. Now, let us say Bajaj is a customer, right? And you have told me that VCS and IPO are 2 CSRs. Now, in which quality management system process, right, you are identified or address this requirement as to how you are ensuring these CSRs are handled or managed, right? So this is what is expected. Now, for example, I'll tell you, like let us say, now Bajaj, let us say for example, have told you to perform MSA studies, right, as per their criteria. and they have told you that they need, they have told you that conduct the GRR studies at 99% confidence interval and 1% error factor, just for example. So now what you need to do is, this is CSR and this is from Bajaj. In which process, right? Now let us say you have a process for your calibration and measurement system analysis. So what you can do in that particular process, you can identify that this particular requirement from Bajaj is addressed through MSA and calibration process. This is what is expected in CSR versus process. So it can be, so you can prepare it in the form of table, or it can be a matrix, it can be a list, it can be anything. But for every customer, you need to identify this, and this has to be a part of your quality management. Yes. So this is where I finish. One more point, and then I'll take the questions. Just give me a moment. Then I could see there are 3 hands which are raised. Just give me a moment. I will provide an opportunity for you to speak. Yeah. Just let me finish this clause. The last requirement in this is engineering specification change. Okay. Now here, as we all know, how ECN is managed, right? First, ECR is raised by the customer, and then engineering change note is raised and you're implemented. So here, the most important point to be understood here is, the major change here, as far as ISO TS standard is concerned, is that what standard is saying, you need to review the you need to review the drawings, right, received from the customer within 10 working days. This is not a shall requirement, this is a should requirement, but earlier, in earlier standard, it was 12, in the earlier standard, it was 2 working weeks, but now it has become 10 working days. This is the only major change as far as ECN is concerned. Rest all, you all know how to handle the engineering change request. Any change, if it is done, it has to be raised from the customer, it has to be approved, right? It has to be implemented, and then you have to follow the change management process in order to implement the engineering change, right? So with this, I finish clause number 7. Now the forum is open for the questions. Now, first of all, I provide the chance to those who have raised their hands. Mangesh sir, you have raised your hand. Any question?
Clear हो गया.
Okay. Ravi Shankar sir, you have also raised your hand. Any question?
No, that was by mistake, I guess. It's come on its own. No question.
Okay. Yeah. Vaibhav sir has raised his hand. Yes, sir. Do you want to say something? Any inputs? Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhijit. Actually, this is the question. This is actually I want to talk about Arvind Verma sir. He asked about any agency who can do the legal requirements related to management system, or customer specific legal requirement, the person who can, or the agency who can support star engineers for that. Arvind, can you unmute yourself so that we can discuss? I just would like to tell you something. Normally, it goes with the customer, and you have to get the information from customer. But before some years, when I was actually delivering a program on Six Sigma in IIFT. It is Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. So it is actually a MBA in IIFT. There are only 2 colleges. One is in Delhi and one is in Kolkata. So the pass out students from these colleges, actually they are specifically, developed on the foreign trading. Okay, in which they are actually experts in the legal for, foreign trade. So there are 2 options. You can take this as a reference and search for the IIFT students to whom you can recruit. Or number 2, there are some IIFT students, those who actually practice, or those who actually give services to various organizations in terms of they do this business. So I don't know, unfortunately, I don't know anyone who is actually doing this right now. But taking this as a reference, you can go into the field and find out anyone who is IIFT qualified, MBA IIFT. I think that will help you.
Okay, I'll find out that.
Yeah, IIFT MBA, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade qualified person. You need to say. Check that. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Abhijit. You can continue.
Thank you. Thank you for the input. Yeah. So if you have any questions, please raise your hands, or we will move on to the test on clause number 7. Guys, I need participation from others as well, because I could see there are 41 attendees, right? But only there are 3-4 like persons who are repeatedly asking the question, but there is no. So as I've told you, I mean, if there are no questions, it is either you have understood everything or you have understood nothing. Yeah. Mangesh sir, please unmute. I think that is not by default, or
नहीं ऑलरेडी वो क्लियर हो गया सर, मैंने वो अपडेट किया ना आपको.
हाँ ठीक है सर. Yes sir, what about this clause 75322?
सर इंजीनियरिंग स्पेसिफिकेशन के एक बार जरा एलॉबरेट करेंगे.
Sir, what I mean, like, what do you need to know on this? The requirement for this?
Yeah, I was just reading the clause.
Okay.
As per this, if customer asks for any change, then we need to revert to him within 10 days of the changes.
No, sir. It's not like that. It is whenever you receive any drawings, any specification, review, right? A requirement from a customer, basically, right? In that case, what you need to do, what standard is saying that review should be completed within 10 working days. So it is not a shall requirement, it is a should requirement. Anyways, your marketing team will not let you even take 10 working days. They will chase you like anything to get the information sorted out for customer, maybe in 2 days, 3 days.
Just to add on this, it does not mean that you implement in 10 days.
Yes.
Because it may take 1 year also.
Yes. But what I just wanted to tell you that in earlier standard ISO TS, it was 2 working weeks, and now it has become 10 working days. So what is the drawback? I mean, what was the drawback in 2 working week was, if a company is working for 5 days, right? 5 working days, right? And if you receive an inquiry, let us say on Friday, right? So effectively, you are going to get only 5 days, basically, right? So that is like 2 working weeks. But when I say 10 working days, so it will not consider any holidays or any weekly off.
Sir, but that 10 days, we should submit a plan, or we should.
A response should go to a customer. It could be accepted, not accepted, under progress, under evaluation, under review, but a response, a review should happen and a response should go to the customer.
Okay. Response means with the plan, that response should go to the customer.
It is not necessary with the plan. It is what is the status of the review, or what is the status of the inquiry.
Yes, sir.
That should like happen.
Okay, sir. Response.
Yeah, there is a question from Lee. Yes, Lee, we have a test after this. Just give me a moment. If there are no questions, right, I can start with the test. Yes, any questions apart from this? If no, we can move on to the test. Esteem, can you post the message in the chat box so that I'll... Okay. Okay, sir. So I am launching the test on clause number 7.
Test tiếp. Chú nào giơ tay hy sinh đầu tiên nào?
Okay, I have launched the test of clause number 7. Again, you have a 10 minutes time, right? I request you all to please attend and submit.
Đọc to, đọc từ từ thôi để con nghe.
Chúng tôi thực sự không quan tâm nếu bộ phận đi vào vũ khí hoặc người giữ cốc dịch vụ Google. Chúng tôi thấy chúng tôi có thể tạo ra một phần thì chúng tôi thường bắt nó trong quá trình sản xuất PPAP của chúng tôi và yêu cầu thay đổi thiết kế. Ông giải thích chỉ đánh trình quản lý chương trình cho công ty phụ tùng ô tô CNC lãnh đạo công nghiệp.
Đọc lại nào.
Chúng tôi sử dụng cùng một kế hoạch chất lượng và quy trình sản phẩm mới cho tất cả các sản phẩm. Chúng tôi thực sự không quan tâm nếu bộ phận đi vào
Again, around 30-40 seconds, you will get to see the page.
chúng tôi có thể tạo ra phần
Play.
để in.
Cứ đọc tiếp đi.
Chúng tôi thường bắt nó trong quá trình sản xuất PPAP của chúng tôi và yêu cầu thay đổi thiết kế. Ông giải thích cái gì đấy đáng cái gì đâu. Giải thích quy trình quản lý cho công ty ô tô. Ông giải thích trình quản lý cho công ty quản phụ tùng CNC.
Chắc là A rồi. A đi. Nghe lòng bằng chắc là
Directory
giám đốc cái gì đó.
tất cả các thành phần nội dung sáng tạo cho bạn biết rằng khách hàng cung cấp cho chúng tôi tất cả các
Đọc to lên.
khi có thay đổi chúng tôi xem xét chúng và sau đó chúng tôi gửi chúng trên thư mục kỹ thuật trên mạng. Chúng tôi không cần một quy trình cụ thể để giải quyết vấn đề này bởi vì các cái sự chúng tôi biết cái sự thay đổi.
A hết đi.
Thế thì cái này không chấp nhận đâu.
Nam A đi Nam ơi.
Ok hết rồi.
A đi. Không ok chứ. Năn có không
Năm
đi.
submit.
Nhưng mà chị chọn A là ok hết rồi.
Đây submit ở đây, đợi tí. Ui chặt được một giây.
A đúng không? Rồi A đây. A đây.
Em phải trỏ chuột vào cái tròn đấy. Trỏ rồi đây. Chuột bình minh này đây.
Sau đó nhấn submit sẽ bảo chúng tôi về.
Việt Nam Team em already submit.
Sao không được?
Hôm qua em đưa rồi. Một lúc mình
Câu số 2 nữa là
Nó bảo là nhá,
kỹ thuật.
cái ông giám đốc thiết kế hay là gì đấy ở cái gì linh kiện gì này nói rằng khách hàng đã cung cấp chúng tôi với cái máy in đó, chúng tôi đã dùng nó để cái mục đích là thiết kế, và khi ở đó có cái gì thay đổi chúng tôi sẽ review lại, và sau đó chúng tôi sẽ kiểu gửi file dâm, nghĩa là gửi cái gì đó, gửi chúng cho giám đốc kỹ thuật ở trên mạng thôi, và chúng tôi không cần phải chỉ ra cụ thể spec để địa chỉ cái này, bởi vì kỹ thuật của chúng tôi biết và đã kiểm soát nó.
Thế là sai.
Tức là
tóm lại mình cứ cái nào bảo thằng nào mà không cần là sai.
Đúng rồi.
Không cần là sai.
Tất cả phải coi. Thế nào nó bảo không
Priyanka ma'am, please unmute yourself and speak.
Previous question appear on my screen.
Ma'am, can you please log out and re-log in? Would be a network issue. I mean, because you should see exercise on clause 7 only. I don't know why clause 6 exercise will appear. So I'll request you to please log in.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Yes, team, I would request those who have not yet submitted so that I'll come to know how many of you are remaining to submit.
Em
That's
chưa
it.
làm
Suhas.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yes,
Sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
The previous question of clause number 6 are coming to me now in text.
Speaking can. Yeah, who's there?
Nana Pandey, sir.
Okay, Nana sir, what happened? You are able to see clause 6 exercise?
That time due to network connection problem, sir, I am missing previous question for course number 6.
Okay, but now after logging in once again, are you able to see clause 7 exercise?
Yes, sir. The clause 7 is completed.
Okay, okay, thank you. Yes, who else was talking? I could hear some other voice. I don't remember the name.
Này mà thứ bảy ở nhà làm sao bao giờ mình lát được?
Sang nhà ai có mạng ấy?
Chỗ đấy chẳng chơi với ai.
Sang nhà Linh.
Linh đi làm, Linh ở nhà.
Abhijit sir, I can
Ravi
see
Shankar
he
sir, I
has
request you to please log in again. I mean, because
Không để chị vào cũng được. Em cứ bật của em đưa mã
as
chị vào.
others can see, and most of majority of them have submitted, so I request you to please re-log in. There could be a network issue.
Sợ cái 3G này nó chỉ được một chuyến thôi.
Rồi chị ở nhà chị vào thì sao?
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Yes, 70% of audience have submitted the results. Vietnam team has also submitted.
Việt Nam submit lên không? Việt Nam submit lên. Để em hỏi xem là có học tiếng
Đến giờ là chúng tôi về còn 3 phút nữa, 3 đúng rồi thì hỏi.
Continue on not.
Hôm qua các anh chị có phải hỏi không?
Không, bọn ta đi về.
Subhash sir, give me a moment. When I display the result, you will come to know. Once I submit the result, after everyone is done, I display the result for you. Yes, team can use,